I used to believe that love was unshakable. That when you built a life with someone, shared dreams, and made sacrifices together, nothing could tear it apart. But I was wrong. My name is Harry. I'm a farmer, always have been, always will be. There's a certain honesty in working the land, something raw and real. That's why, after years of saving, I finally bought a piece of land out in the countryside, a place where my family could build a future, free from the noise and rush of the city. But my wife, Lisa, didn't see it that way. She liked our life in town, the restaurants, the shopping, the social gatherings. She said she needed time to decide. Just give me 3 months, Harry, she pleaded. Let me think this through. I agreed, thinking she needed time to adjust. But I didn't realize what those 3 months really meant. Because Lisa wasn't hesitating. She wasn't torn. She was lying. And it was my own daughter who finally told me the truth. At first, nothing seemed out of place. Lisa was still warm toward me, still the same woman I'd loved for over a decade. She would come home late from work, saying she had business meetings, company dinners, networking events. I didn't question it. Why would I? I was focused on the farm, making plans, preparing the land. Every free moment I had, I was out there, dreaming about the future, about the life we were going to build. But then, little things started gnawing at me. Lisa became distant. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in the quiet kind, the kind that sneaks up on you when you least expect it. She would avoid my touch, pull away from my kiss just a little too soon. Her laughter felt forced, her smiles never quite reached her eyes. And then there was the phone. She used to leave it lying around the house, on the kitchen counter or the nightstand. But now, it was always in her pocket, always on silent. If I walked into a room while she was texting, she'd tilt the screen away, just slightly, but enough to notice. I told myself I was imagining things. That I was just stressed. Until my daughter, Emma, told me a secret that made my world crumble. I was sitting at the kitchen table, finishing my second cup of coffee, when my daughter Emma walked in. She's 9, too young to understand the weight of the world but old enough to see things adults think they can hide. She hesitated at the doorway, playing with the hem of her shirt. "Daddy," she said softly, her voice uncertain. I looked up and smiled. "What is it, sweetheart?" She bit her lip, glancing toward the hallway where Lisa was showering. Then she stepped closer and lowered her voice. "I think Mommy has a boyfriend." The words hit me like a freight train. I blinked at her, my mind scrambling for an explanation, something, anything, to make sense of what she had just said. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I asked, keeping my voice steady even though my hands had started to shake. She fidgeted with her fingers. "She talks to someone on the phone a lot. When she picks me up from school, she's always smiling at her screen. And one time, I saw a message pop up. It said, 'I miss you, baby.'" The room suddenly felt too small, too quiet. I swallowed hard. "Are you sure, Emma? Maybe it was from a friend?" She shook her head. "I don't think so. One time, I asked her who she was talking to, and she got really mad. She told me not to ask questions about her phone." A sharp pain twisted in my chest. Lisa had never been short-tempered with Emma. Not once. I forced a smile, reaching over to squeeze her hand. "Thank you for telling me, sweetheart. But don't worry, okay? I'll figure it out." Emma nodded, her little face still clouded with worry. She trusted me to make things right. But how could I, when I didn't even know what I was dealing with yet? That night, as Lisa lay beside me in bed, scrolling through her phone, I stared at the ceiling, my mind spinning. I had 2 choices: confront her now, demand answers, throw everything out in the open. Or, I could wait. Watch. Gather proof. I chose the second option. Because if Lisa was lying to me, if she was betraying our family, I wasn't going to give her the chance to twist the truth. No. I was going to catch her in it. After that night, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Lisa was careful, too careful. She wasn't just hiding her phone from me, she was guarding it like a secret she couldn't afford to lose. A week passed, and I noticed patterns I hadn't before. She was dressing differently, tighter skirts, lower necklines, perfume she never used to wear. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. But then came the late nights. Another business dinner, she'd say, kissing my cheek before heading out. At first, I believed her. But the second week, I followed her. I waited until she left, then grabbed my keys and took my old truck, keeping a few car lengths behind her. My heart pounded the whole time, half of me hoping I was wrong, the other half bracing for what I might find. She didn't drive toward any fancy restaurant. Instead, she pulled into a small parking lot behind a boutique hotel on the outskirts of town. No valet, no crowd, just a quiet place where no one would ask questions. I watched as she stepped out of her car, smoothing her dress. Then a man walked up to her. Tall. Confident. Well-dressed. He wrapped an arm around her waist, whispering something in her ear. And she, my wife, laughed. Not the polite kind she used at home. No, this was different. This was the kind of laughter a woman saves for a man who excites her. My stomach twisted. My hands clenched the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. She leaned in and kissed him. Right there in the parking lot. And then, together, they disappeared inside the hotel. I sat there for a long time, my chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. It was real. Lisa wasn't hesitating about moving to the farm. She was stalling, stringing me along while she had her fun. I could have stormed in there, made a scene. But I didn't. Instead, I drove home, my mind racing. Lisa had no idea that I knew. And that gave me the power to decide what happened next. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to make her regret every single lie she ever told me. That night, Lisa came home past midnight, slipping into bed like nothing had happened. I listened to her steady breathing, her back turned to me, and I wondered, was she even going to tell me about her business dinner? Would she give me some lazy excuse if I asked? I almost wanted to test her. To turn to her and say, how was the hotel? Just to watch her reaction. But I held back. If I wanted to do this right, I had to be patient. So I played the perfect husband. The next morning, I made her coffee the way she liked it, 2 sugars, just a little cream. She smiled at me like nothing was wrong. Like she wasn't sneaking around behind my back. Thanks, babe, she said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I fought the urge to pull away. Instead, I let her. I even kissed her back. She had no idea I'd seen everything. That night at dinner, Emma brought up something innocent, but it nearly made me snap. Mommy, when are we moving to the farm? Lisa barely looked up from her plate. I told you, sweetie. I just need more time to think. I forced a smile. 3 months, right? That's what you said. She hesitated for just a second. If I hadn't been watching so closely, I wouldn't have caught it. Yes, she said finally. Just 3 months. I nodded. Of course. I wonder if she knew I was counting down the days. The more I watched Lisa, the more I saw it. The little things. She'd linger in the bathroom longer, her phone never leaving her side. She started taking extra care with her hair and makeup, even on days she wasn't going anywhere. She was in love, with someone else. And yet, she still came home to me. She still smiled at me. Still let me hold her in bed at night. Like I was nothing more than an obligation. I needed proof. Real proof. So one night, while she was in the shower, I took her phone. My hands were steady as I entered her passcode, her birthday, just like it had always been. She probably thought I'd never check. The moment her messages loaded, my stomach twisted. His name was saved under M. And there it was, months of texts, calls, pictures. Messages that made my blood boil. M, I can't wait to see you tonight. I've missed you so much. Lisa, me too, baby. Harry doesn't suspect a thing. My grip tightened around the phone. I kept reading. The more I saw, the more I wanted to smash that phone against the wall. She had been meeting him for months. Lying to me, to our daughter, to everyone. My world collapsed in the time it took to scroll through a few messages. And yet, I still kept my face neutral when she came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her body. I handed her the phone like nothing had happened. You left this on the counter, I said casually. She smiled. Thanks, babe. I smiled back. She had no idea that I was about to destroy her perfect little lie. The weight of betrayal is a strange thing. It doesn't hit you all at once like a punch to the gut. It creeps up on you, settling in your chest, making every breath feel heavier. For days, I carried that weight in silence. I still woke up next to Lisa. Still kissed her goodbye in the mornings. Still listened to her laugh with Emma at dinner. But inside, I was unraveling. I thought about the texts, the way she had called him baby. The way she had reassured him, Harry doesn't suspect a thing. She was wrong. And now, I had a decision to make. I could confront her. Shout. Demand answers. Or, I could take everything she thought she had control over and turn it against her. That's when the plan started forming. The first move. I started small. Lisa had no idea that I had been checking our joint bank statements. That's how I found out she had taken out cash withdrawals every time she saw him, no paper trail, no way for me to prove she was spending money on another man. But I was smarter than that. I started moving money out of our joint account. Not enough for her to notice right away, but little by little. A few hundred here, a few hundred there. Just enough to make sure when the time came, she wouldn't have the cushion she thought she had. Then I called my lawyer. I wanted to know exactly what I could do. How much of the house I could claim. What rights I had when it came to Emma. The best part? Lisa had no idea that I was preparing to walk away from her before she ever had a chance to leave me first. A whisper in the dark. One night, Emma came to my room after Lisa had gone to bed. She stood in the doorway, hugging her stuffed rabbit the way she did when she was nervous. Daddy? I sat up immediately. What is it, sweetheart? She hesitated, then walked over and climbed into bed beside me. I wrapped my arm around her, waiting for her to speak. I don't think Mommy loves you anymore. It took everything in me not to let my breath hitch. Why do you say that? I asked gently. She played with the edge of her pajama sleeve. She's always on her phone. And sometimes, when she thinks I'm not listening, she talks to someone. She sounds happy, but not the way she does with you. I closed my eyes for a brief second. Emma was too young to understand everything, but she understood enough. I kissed the top of her head. You don't need to worry about anything, sweetheart. I promise. She looked up at me. You're not gonna leave, right? I felt my heart twist. No, baby. I'll always be here for you. That part was the truth. I wasn't going anywhere. But Lisa? Lisa was about to lose everything. Lisa's 3-month decision was almost up. She thought she was in control of the situation. That she had time to figure out how to balance her affair while keeping me on the back burner. But she didn't realize she was playing my game now. While she was out on another one of her so-called business dinners, I started packing her things. I didn't just shove them into suitcases, I carried every single piece of clothing, every shoe, every sentimental item she had left in our home and took them straight to the trash. She had no idea. By the time she walked through the front door that night, I was waiting. She took one look at the empty closet, at the bare walls where her photos used to hang, and froze. What's going on? Her voice wavered. I stood there, arms crossed. Calm. Unshaken. I'm settling scores, I said. She turned to me, her face pale. Harry, what are you talking about? I smiled. A slow, knowing smile. I know, Lisa. She swallowed hard. Know what? I took a step closer. Let her feel the weight of what was coming. I know where you've been going. Who you've been seeing. The hotel. The texts. The lies. She opened her mouth, maybe to deny it, maybe to beg. I didn't care. I know everything, I said, my voice steady. And now, you're going to get exactly what you deserve. Her eyes darted around the room like she was looking for a way out. But there wasn't one. She had already sealed her fate. Lisa's face drained of color. She wasn't just caught, she was trapped. Her hands clenched into fists, but I saw the panic in her eyes. Harry, listen. No, I cut in. You don't get to talk your way out of this. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. With a few taps, I opened the folder containing the screenshots. The messages. The photos. The proof. I held it up for her to see. Her breath hitched. Her gaze flicked over the damning texts, the ones she had sent to him. I miss you, baby. I can't wait to see you tonight. Harry doesn't suspect a thing. Lies. She had built our marriage on them, and now they were crumbling around her. How long? I asked, my voice calm. Her lips parted, but no words came out. How long? She swallowed. I don't know. I let out a short, humorless laugh. You don't know. I shook my head. Try again. Her shoulders slumped. 6 months. A slow burn spread through my chest. 6 months. 6 months of lying to my face. 6 months of sneaking off to hotel rooms while I stayed home, working myself to the bone to build a future for us. 6 months of my daughter watching her mother slowly slip away from the family she was supposed to love. I took a deep breath. Emma knows. Lisa's head snapped up, horror flashing across her face. What? She knows something's wrong. She saw the way you've been acting. And do you know what she told me? Lisa shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. She said, I don't think Mommy loves you anymore. Lisa let out a choked sob, her hands flying to her mouth. No. No, Harry, I love you. No, you don't. I met her gaze, unwavering. If you did, we wouldn't be here. She stepped forward, but I didn't move. Harry, please, she whispered. I made a mistake. I was confused. I didn't. I tilted my head. You didn't what? You didn't mean to do it every time you left this house. You didn't mean to take your clothes off in some cheap hotel room. You didn't mean to lie to my face over and over again. She flinched. I was going to end it. I let out another laugh. Sure you were. She wiped at her tears, shaking her head frantically. Harry, please. Don't do this. Don't throw everything away. I stared at her, my chest rising and falling. And then I said the words that made her knees buckle. I already did. Lisa had always been a woman who thought she could control everything, me, our marriage, our future. But now, she had no control at all. She didn't notice the manila folder sitting on the coffee table until I picked it up. I tossed it toward her. It landed at her feet, spilling open. She blinked at the papers inside. Then realization dawned. Divorce papers. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I nodded. My lawyer already drafted them. You get nothing, Lisa. No house, no land, no financial support. Just like you treated this marriage, I'm cutting you out of it. Her breath came out in shallow gasps. Harry. I took another step forward, my voice low and firm. You think I'd let you walk away from this like nothing happened? That you could keep playing house with me while you sneak off to him? She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. I don't want him. I want. Save it, I said. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it. Her hands trembled as she picked up the papers. She flipped through them, as if hoping to find something, some loophole, some way out. There wasn't one. I've already taken my name off the lease for this apartment, I continued. And since you've been so busy sneaking around, you probably haven't noticed, I already moved out. Took my things days ago. Her eyes widened. That's why your stuff is gone, Lisa, I said coldly. It's in the dumpster outside. Right where it belongs. She gasped. You threw away my things. I crossed my arms. You threw away our marriage. Her breathing grew erratic. Where will I go? I shrugged. Not my problem. She looked around as if reality was finally hitting her. The apartment was empty. She had no safety net, no money, and no one to turn to except the man she had betrayed me for. And I had taken everything away before she even saw it coming. Harry, she whimpered, stepping toward me. I love you. I took a long look at her. The woman I had once trusted with everything. Then I turned around and walked out the door. She got exactly what she deserved. And I never looked back.